everyone, and we're back again on another little chin chat here. But hey, look, we've got someone new with us. Obviously, you can see myself and Keith over there in
Mhm.
British Columbia. How are you doing today, Keith?
I am living the dream. It's actually a pretty beautiful day here in the western part of Canada. We've got some sunshine and it's going to be a bit of a warm day, 6 or 7 degrees, and no snow. So it's always a good day.
Excellent. And as you can see, we got someone with us today, Katy Frost. Katy,
Mhm.
welcome to our little chin chats we have. And how are you today?
I'm all right. Hello, Pete and Keith.
Hi, Katie. Good to see you again. Mhm.
So, Kate, do you want to just sort of just tell viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself and where you are and what you do, what you're famous for, why you're with,
Yeah,
in
What I'm
other words,
famous for.
yeah,
why are you working with us?
yeah.
Oh, I'm Katie, obviously. I'm an illustrator, but I also have chronic pain, so I've been trying to work out how to sort it out myself and got in touch with you, Pete, didn't I, about a year ago? Or coming
That
up for
long?
a year ago. I think it was just after
Mm.
Christmas.
Really?
And
Oh,
yeah, got in touch and started the ball rolling. And I kind of would like to get into working in pain management in some way.
mm.
Yeah, possibly using my design skills. Not
Yeah, great.
necessarily though.
Yeah, for listeners and viewers, Kate's a very good illustrator, and she already did an illustration for us. The upstream downstream illustration. I've probably
Yeah,
seen that on social media.
yeah.
But hey Keith, well, listen,
Mhm.
guys, we sort of think in our last video we did last week, we sort of get a bit of a sum up of what 2025's gone. But hey, listen, we got to look forward. We got to look
Mhm.
forward to the next year. For me, I think 2026 is going to be massive for supportive self-management. It's going to be a blast, and I think this little catch up today. We just have a talk about how we see things running for 2026. I mean, Keith, how do you see it running?
Pete, I have to agree with you. And we were talking before we got everybody together here on this recording, and you talked about, sometimes it's important to take a step back and that's really to give that perspective because we get involved in this work and sometimes we can kind of lose perspective. We don't really see the bigger picture. We're just looking with our blinders on and and it's good to take a step back and say, hey, like lots have happened and that 2020, I agree with you. I think 2026 year is just going to be another year to keep moving things forward. And
Mm.
just in general, when I take that step back, I am seeing that a lot more is happening, not only in Canada where I live, but globally on promoting supported self-management. And that's more than half the battle. First is getting people talking about it. Next, I would suggest that where the focus lies is taking those conversations and then working with people to make sure that they really understand what supported self-management is and they're delivering those messages in the most effective way. So the people who are asking for that information are receiving it in the best manner possible. Because there's no point in trying to teach to somebody at a level that they're not at. So while there's still more work to be done, I think there's a pretty good foundation that's been laid, and 2026 will just be a year to keep building up on that.
Yeah. So, Casey, how do you see two 2026 working out for supportive self-management?
I think it's important to try and get people interested in the first place. I'd like to try more
Hmm.
of that. It's getting people to even know that there's even this out there because I didn't know any of this when I first
Hmm.
started. So I think the hard bit is getting people to even know there's options out there. And then once you can get them into that, then they'll be a bit more interested in managing it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think.
we're sort we're running we're sorting out we're having a we're launch well not launching we are launching a brand new website in the new year for not only for people with long-term conditions. It'll be called the Supported Self-Management Toolkit website. So we're just Scott, who my website, well, the Pain Toolkit guru, he's working on it over this weekend, and I'll be looking at it on month tomorrow. And so not only are we supporting people living with persistent pain, but we can also now help in 2026 people living with long-term conditions. And so we're really looking forward to that. And obviously, then, Keith, we got the conference coming up on the 21st of February, which I'm
Hmm.
super looking forward to because we got super, super duper uh,
Hmm.
speakers this year. And can you remember off the top of your head?
Oh, off the top of my head, oh, you're gonna challenge me there.
Oh,
So,
blimey,
well,
yeah.
we have Lorimer Mosley who's gonna be joining us.
Yeah,
Lots of people know who Lorimer is, so we're very excited to have him join us. We got Jim Stark, who's a physiotherapist out of the United States. Jim is a great guy. I've met him once personally at the San
yeah,
Diego Pain Summit. Totally about people. He gets it.
yeah.
Um, we've got Jennifer Daly Sear, who is somebody I know who's a person who lives with pain. She's got great stories and great information. We've got Joe Belton, who's joining us. And there's two more. And on a Sunday morning, you've got me with my
Okay,
brain
we got.
not fully
Okay,
engaged.
I can remember them. We
There.
got Dave Flusk,
Thank you, Dr. DeFlusk here in Canada. How could
yeah,
I forget Dave?
up in
Yes.
Newfoundland,
Yep.
and another Katie from Australia, another self-manager, and she's
Thank you. Katie Wilson. Yeah.
Katie Wilson, yeah.
Too many Katies.
Yeah, there
Not
are
enough
a lot of
Katies. It's
No,
not
Katies.
enough Katies.
and I've got to remember Katie Napson from the academy, and etc. Um, yeah, so we got that's coming up on the 21st of February. If you're in North America, it'll be on the 20th.
Hmm.
And so we're really looking forward to that. I always enjoy doing those. And then in April, I can't remember the date to be honest with you, but we're doing the very first worldwide supported self-management conference, which is for people with all long-term conditions. And we've got, I'm really excited about this because it's going to really open up our world because we got people with different health conditions, like and also health also healthcare professionals who work in different fields. And from memory, I know I'm going to forget a few. Well, I remember one of the speakers. That's your Keith, and you're going to talking about your other long-term condition you have,
Hmm.
mitochondria. Is that right?
Mitochondrial disease. Yeah.
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 We got Lou James from the Pink and Steel, who does cancer rehab. We'll have a guy called Mike from Alcoholics Anonymous.
Hmm.
He's going to be talking about addiction and stuff like that. And I can't remember. I think yeah, Gronya Daniels. She's a physiotherapist. She's going to talk about meds and stuff like that. I'm not sure. I can't remember anybody else at this moment in time. So I think we're still at. In fact, if people think we may have a couple of spaces left for
Right. Yeah.
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 So I'm really looking forward to that because I think it'll, at the moment we have to like label things like pain self-management, asthma self-management, but this is looking at the whole picture, like because
Hmm.
I think from them, when I worked on the expert patients program years ago, when I worked in the NHS, we used to run the that program, and but we had people from all with all long-term conditions, and they and it's irrelevant what condition they had. They could all identify with all the problems. It's all very similar, like but losing their confidence to do things and whatnot. So I think it's going to be really really valuable. And as you know, Keith's going to be working with us as well on the website, promoting info and whatnot. So. And hopefully, this young lady with us today, Keith, she may be involved in some sort of manner herself, like, but I haven't asked her yet. But No pressure. You don't have to. I hope you're
Maybe
involved.
in the future, Pete. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have a think about that when you've been no pressure at all. I can, to me, UK, you're like next generation, really. So, and I think it's important. I think for like myself and Keith have been around a bit. We in another health condition I've got. We would be called Alzheimer's, you know.
Mhm.
It's important that the one part of the important job of an Alzheimer is bring on the newcomers, like, passing on the baton, like, So I see you guys as the younger generation, but the newcomers who are the next generation of supported self-managers, like.
Well, and to that, I just, I want to go to something that you mentioned earlier, Katie. And first of all, I don't see myself as a newcomer. I might not be quite as old as you, Pete, but I'm 40 years in this journey, so most of my life. So it's
Mm.
one of these days I'm going to hang up the Spurs. But Katie, you said something that I found really interesting, and you talked about supported self-management. What you thought was really important was getting that information out there, the knowledge and the awareness that this exists. And I thought it was really interesting because when I started into this back in the 80s, there weren't even really pain clinics and none of that stuff. And this was just not even ever talked about. So to hear, nearly 40 years later, your experience is that that information is missing as well. So that's a real important gap to close. But I'd like to know just, and for the people who are listening, how did you find out about supported self-management? Like how did this land on your plate and so you found where you were?
Do you know, it all started with a self-help podcast that I listened to by Mel Robbins. It was nothing to do with pain thing, and it's kind of spiraled. Then I listened to another podcast that had a guy called Andrew Huberman, which some people
Mm-hmm.
would have heard of, and it had a bit of pain science in there. And I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. So I actually found it. I like the science side. Found
Mm-hmm.
it quite interesting. So I got into it and then learnt more and more that way. And it was really far down the line that I even found out that there was such thing as a pain clinic. I didn't even know there were pain clinics. And actually, I was quite lucky. I did have a physiotherapist that kind of set things up in my head a bit
Mm-hmm.
and very gently kind of influenced me that it was going to be a chronic issue and that maybe I should
Right.
look at it's not just having treatments. Maybe you need to do some other bits. And yeah, I
Right.
found he actually pointed me in the direction of Pete O'Sullivan. So
Mm-hmm.
I've listened to some podcasts. I'm a big podcast listener. So I listened to some podcasts by Pete O'Sullivan, and then yeah, that kind of all made sense. I've also
Mm-hmm.
got a GP cousin who's quite savvy as well. So he was very good at telling me find one person that you can trust, which
Mm-hmm.
ended up being my physio, and kind of use them as a sounding board for whether you should think about things or not think about things. And I found that really helpful. So that's how I kind of got into it all. And then just, yeah, now I just love learning about it as well. So
Well, that is amazing. And so, Pete, when we talk about 2026 and what's the focus, I still go back and I stand by my earlier statement where this, supported self-management is talked about more, but clearly based on Katie, your story, it's still not enough. It's still not mainstream. And you were fortunate that you had a couple of interactions with people who were able to start you on that road. So, what's part of our focus for 2026, all of us, is to continue to promote supportive self-management as not something that is adjunct to healthcare. It's not something that you do as an add-on. It is something that you do as part of, and sometimes adds the thing to manage your pain,
Yeah,
And we're clearly not there because here, Katie, that's a very um, enlightening story to hear that you still had to find out on this all on your own.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
It's funny, early this morning, when I was having I always like the weekends because it's a break from the gym and have a cup of tea in bed. But Dave Porter, who we know,
Mhm.
I posted these on X, aka,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he posted there this morning about it was funny enough, it was one of those Just One Thing videos that Joshua Pate did with Lorimer,
Hmm.
and he pointed out about the importance of the importance of how learning, the learning part of it, really, that healthcare professionals need to be more like educators, but more importantly, asking people how do they learn.
Right.
And I said to myself, boy, oh boy, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much bit basic. I mean, I learned that back in when I was working in the NHS. Like I wanted to further my skills, really, communicating with people, and I did went on a course that was run by a big organisation here, recognised, called the City and Guilds Foundation. I think it's just sort of City and Guilds, and I went to night school for about 6 months, really, learning about learning teaching adults, really, And I always remember one of the sessions, um, the coach or the teacher said about, well, when you're teaching adults, you need to think about being prepared. What materials have you got? You're going to need a variety of learning materials because people learn in different ways. And she pointed out about people being visual learners, so others learn by listening, watching, reading, practical and stuff like that. And you got to be prepared for that. And that really struck home with me because you just assume everybody learns well from reading and maybe a bit
Mhm.
of watching, but I really opened up my eyes, like and I think, it really, out of all the sessions I had on that course, that one really struck home with me. And I knew immediately when I started building the paint toolkit. I didn't have all the funds at that time, but I had that as in the back of my mind all the time to put information on the site for every type, well, most type of learner, really,
Mhm.
So we did. So I put on there, like we had, obviously with the text and stuff like that, but also using pictures, like cartoons type things. I hired a people well, it was an actor and actresses to do the audio for me, and I think I hired a guy called oh God, well, I can't in my bloody memory at the moment.
Mhm.
Um, he was a BBC presenter. He's not anymore. He's retired now. Ronnie Barber, and we did a lot of recordings here, all about the 12 tools in the toolkit, etc. So we was doing, and we did podcasts and that sort of thing, and that's why I've always, I think, for healthcare professionals or listening or watching this stuff, it's about it's the simple thing is, and I've been promoting this idea since 2001, really. Sorry, 2003, I think, when I went on the course. It's a bit ask when you see a person or you're going to coach someone, ask them how do they learn. Because it's but I don't know about you, Katie, when you started out, and you, Keith, but what they give you like the mandatory leaflet. Well, if you're not a reader, mate, if
Mhm.
you don't learn from reading, you might it's some pretty handy for the fire, I know when I got diagnosed with the my prostate cancer, first thing the guy gave me was a book, felt it looked quite big, I suppose about a quarter of an inch thick, and it was all written by the Royal College of Urology. I mean, I've never been to medical school, so that was part of me went in composting bin, So, but no one's ever, when I started getting all these newer long-term conditions, no one ever asked me how did I learn,
Mhm.
So that's that bit we saying, Keith. It's about we need to be the educators, from our point of view, sort of thing, and it's not this stuff should be taught in medical schools. It's not everything that we promote. It's not rocket science. It's just pretty basic learning stuff, really, isn't it?
It is, and that's why I think, the more we get, the more people we get involved, and that's why, Katie, I'm really excited to see you starting down this journey, and I think you've got some amazing skills is in your professional world as an illustrator. I love your work.
Yeah.
And would suggest anybody to look you up and check out your website. It's so cool. Little plug there.
Very
But
much.
yeah, and I think it's what's your website? Go ahead, throw it out there. I can't remember. It's
Katie Bob's your auntie.
that's it. Yeah, I love that. So, but it's all about, like you said, Keith, finding the different ways because it is about education. Because again, Katie, your story is a perfect example of all the progress that has been made. We're still areas that need improvement, and you really illustrated that. And I'm just so glad that you had a relationship with your physiotherapist that was respectful and safe and was able to start you on this journey. So yeah,
Yeah, I'm very
and I mean.
lucky and grateful for that.
So I mean, in with where you're at, and like I say, Pete and I have been doing this for a while, and you're just kind of started out. What do you see 2026? For you, what do you plan on doing?
Do you know, I've got so many ideas. I just don't know
Ah,
where to
nice.
aim them. I just don't know where to aim them at the
That's
moment.
great. I love that.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we need to get people early on. That's my thing. I think,
Hmm.
and also I think might have to be a bit blunt with some clinicians on how they're delivering things. Just, I think, yes, they could get out to so many people. I have listened to quite a few people talking, and I find them
Hmm.
really interesting because I am interested in that, but I also glaze over at certain points. And this is
Yeah.
someone who's actually got a keen interest in the clinical side of things. I think they've got a lot to offer, but they don't know how to deliver it sometimes, and I don't know how to do that politely.
Right. And Pete, I think you and I would agree that's probably foundational to a lot of what the concerns are, is that there are a lot of clinicians, I mean, healthcare providers, whether they're doctors or PTs or OTs,
Yeah,
who are just so invested in this, but they just don't know how to properly get it across to people.
yeah,
And you shared a story, Katie, about an online conference where they started way too high. They were like at the 10,000 meter level, and most people are right down at 0 meters. They're just like, what is going on in my life? And
yeah.
and that's where we need to target. So, Pete, maybe that's part of 2026 as we continue to just raise the awareness about how important it is to not only, raise um, that supportive self-management is an important tool, but what does it really mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
One day at a time. That's how we do it.
Yeah. One day at a time. That's right. One foot ahead of the other.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Look out for those dudes, the healthcare workers, healthcare professionals who would like to make a difference, and then support them along the way in making a
Exactly.
difference. And that's what we're trying to do via the Paint Toolkit Academy. By the way, before I forget, there'll be Dave Oxley is doing some recording with him next week. We're going to on that platform, that Academy platform, we're going to be doing courses for healthcare professionals and people living with long-term conditions to support the self-management messages, so
Excellent.
that's the best way we can think of doing it, getting the word out there to the masses.
Hmm.
We can do these very simple courses and stuff like that. They're not, you know, the one thing we don't do, Keith, we don't do rocket science.
Hmm. Yeah.
But you need to keep it simple. I think that's the thing.
And fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever anyone does, it has to be simple, just really simple.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. So,
So I think we're wrapping up there, guys, and just want to wish you two season's greetings and a happy and healthy, or happy season's greetings, or whatever
mhm.
how that goes. Most importantly, happy and healthy 2026. So I'll be looking forward to working with all of you and working with other dudes out there.
Hmm.
And what's your message? Yeah, your season's greeting message, guys.
Well, thank you for inviting me on firstly. And yeah, I think there's big things coming up for lots of people, and hopefully we can get the information out to the people that really need it. I think that's what I'd like to do. That's my goal for 2026, my main one. Anyway,
There you go.
I think that's a great goal. I'll just wrap this up as well, Pete, by saying to all of you, happy holidays and all the best in 2026. Katie, was just so great, such a pleasure to have you join us today. And these little conversations just sort of renew in me that every journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yeah.
We're all just taking a single step, and And another analogy is this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So we're in it for the long run, and we just have to remember to pace. We have to pace ourselves in the work that we do, to be able to educate others. And I'll just reinforce everything you said, Katie. It's about keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Keep it simple and keep it a way that's digestible to people. And change will happen. It is happening, and we'll just do whatever we can on our part, however small it may be, to add to that change.
And happy Christmas and 2026 or holidays from me as well.
Nice.
Okay.
Excellent.
So anyway, so it was a goodbye from us, guys. So again, take care, look after yourself, be cool and groovy, and we look forward to seeing you again in 2026. Take care, be cool
All
and
right. Bye,
groovy.
everyone.
Ciao, ciao.
Thanks. See you.